Welcome, 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 everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk, Season 6, Episode 22. I'm with my wonderful co-host, who I'm going to cheers with my yummy drink, Evan Renaerts. Evan, how you doing?
Hang on one moment. Just got to reach down into my fridge and pull up my drink, and I am, hang on, here we go.
You're crack opening the case.
My crack opening. Okay, end of show. This is already going sideways. We're talking about, okay, forget it. Anyway.
No, all good. Welcome back. We are here. We've got a lot to cover. It's been kind of a steady, busy week for us in hockey because of the Four Nations, which we're going to get into. And there's going to be something I have to share, Evan. It's very important. But remember, guys, before we get to that, we are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are on Facebook. Give us a follow. We've reached our 1K people. We appreciate all those tuning in. We're sharing often, daily. We're trying to get it out there. We're on Instagram. We are on Twitter/X, as Evan likes to call it. And we are on YouTube. Give us a follow, subscribe. We try to get that content out there. We try to talk all things hockey. I love hearing from people. It's been incredible. And on our website, we got articles. We got our former guests. Go check it out. It's a great website. There's a lot happening there. But Evan, we got a big show to get to. There's a lot going on. And
before you go anywhere, I love how you say an X, as Evan likes to call it. It has been X now for a year and a half, or no, actually almost 2 years almost now. We're almost getting close to. And you're still saying, as Evan likes, maybe you should say, and Twitter, as I like to call it, meaning you like to call it.
Let's just get that straight. But let's go with that. So I have a big statement to make because I said something on the show a few weeks ago, and Jordan was on. You were away. You were busy.
Yeah. Okay. What did you say?
I have to issue an apology. So here we go. This isn't a rant. You guys can rant about my stance on this. I was wrong, Evan. Pound my chest. I was wrong about the Four Nations. It was great. It's been phenomenal. It was intense hockey. And you know what it is? I really like that the players bought in, because if they didn't buy in, the fans would not buy in. So I was wrong. It's been entertaining. There's a lot of drama that we're going to get into about it. And what it's being reported as is that beyond the Stanley Cup Finals, the Canada-US game last Saturday had the highest viewership ever in a while. Now, it does help with good timing with the NFL being done, the NBA in their all-star game, and they're having their own issues in the NBA there, but that's not for us. You guys can go to Integrity Sports. They got you covered for all NBA stuff. But Evan, I was wrong. The players came out to play. We saw the stars, and now we have a rematch tomorrow night, Canada versus US in Boston. And oh, the drama, oh, the storylines, oh, the hits, all the goals, all the line combinations that you can think of and dream of. It's happening, and it's real. So I like to just concede and say, and Jordan knows because he's on the show, I was wrong. I've enjoyed it, and there is something here. Your thoughts on the Four Nations so far?
Yeah, I'm just jotting down a couple notes. So here's something interesting. This comes from a 9-year-old, and it was posted by Cam Robinson, who works for Elite Prospects. Is kind of the number one, works with the rankings. So if you follow Cam Robinson, Cam, I'm giving you a push here. Even though you haven't come in our show, I'm still giving you a push, bro. You got some great stuff there. So Cam Robinson, he tweeted what his 9-year-old son came to him after the Sweden game against Finland. And his quote was, "Good for Sweden for playing so hard." 9-year-old, by the way. He says, "That will be the last time some of these guys get to wear that jersey." That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing to see a 9-year-old connecting around hockey. So, I just like to say, I knew this was not going to be an all-star game. The only difference is like you've mentioned, you're missing the Drysidles, right? You're missing the Germans and the Swiss and the Latvians and Slovakian, the Russians, all around there. But let's face it, Russia's the only team that would have mattered in this tournament. Essentially, you would have Sweden, Finland, Russia, Canada, and the U.S. It is a 5-country nation. No other team is going to win this. So that would be, and right now the Olympics are in danger of not having the Russians as well. So now do you not call it a best on best?
See, I understand. It's tongue in cheek, but I agree.
It is hard. And I don't think that winning this or winning the one that will be in the Olympics, here's the difference. It won't be only NHL PA players.
100%. And the Olympics have more to play for because you are winning medals. You know, you are competing for at a higher standard.
I don't know about that, man, because winning an Olympic medal and me winning a Four Nations Cup, I'm winning a cup of best on best. So I don't know, like getting a medal to say, okay. I think you value Olympics more than I do. I actually value the World Cup of hockey.
I have a good question
for the more than any of that.
And I've seen this a long times, and I'll let you answer quickly. But before we get to my question, is Jordan says Evan repping the WHL or franchise players are just exploding out of right now. I think hang on.
I need to turn around. I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you see this?
Yes, Ward.
And it's signed, a signed Ward. Now,
very nice.
It's signed to Morgan, not signed to Evan. So thank you, Morgan, for letting me buy this jersey off you. So I have Morgan signed Cam Ward jersey. Now let's just talk about, I think what we're dealing with. Let's just start with I keep calling it First Nations. I apologize to the First Nations for the Four Nations trying to steal away and use that name. But right now, I think the difference in this game, you have incredible forwards, deep on the Canadian team, but you got deep, maybe they're the next level below a Crosby, McDavid, and McKinnon. But however, their defense is world-class, probably the best defense next to the, the 2010 Olympics. I'm trying to remember, was it 2010? No, it was 2015. I'm trying to remember when they went undefeated, the Canadian team in the Olympics. They had it was like a defensive team out of everything.
I thought it was 2010. Was it
oh man, that was Crosby's goal, 2010. No.
Yeah, that was Crosby.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that. It was another one, and they went somewhere else. But anyway, regardless, I think what we're looking at right now when it comes to the who's going to win, U.S. or Canada, this is going to come down to two things. Number one, goaltending, because I think the defense of America, they clog up. There is no room in the middle. You're going to have to pound through that. They're going to have to find a way to get through. And then, so I think it kind of cancels. And then the defense is strong enough on the defensive front to stop America. So now this comes down to two things, mistakes and goaltending. So if Binnington, who's going to get the start again, looks like, if he's going to be in goal, he's going to have to actually be better than Hellebuck. And if he is equal, he will not be better, but if he is equal, now it comes down to a game of mistakes. And right now, I put this in favor of the USA, 60-40 for a chance to actually repeat. So do not look at that Sweden game if you're a U.S. fan and be too worried. It was just a Sweden game. They were already in it. They knew what was happening. Some players were not playing in that one. But you heard the news. Quinn Hughes will.
Yes, it sounds like he hasn't been cleared.
He's not. He won't
by the Vancouver Canucks. So there was rumblings that with Charlie McAvoy, who essentially got injured in that Finland-U.S. game, went into the post of the net, looked kind of awkward. Apparently there was some kind of infection in his right shoulder. So it sounds like he was out. He has his surgery. He's being monitored and evaluated. There's a lot coming out right now about the fact that the Boston Bruins organization is not happy with how this was dealt with in terms of the medical staff approaching it when this happened in Montreal. But of course, there was a contingency plan in place with Quinn potentially being asked. Now, he was originally going to play, but with a nagging injury and with Vancouver being so tight to making the playoffs that they wanted to keep him out. And it's been back and forth reporting, but as of now that we know, and again, Evan, things can change on a dime.
No, it's done.
He is not participating, and they are looking for other players that are closer, including asking Brett Pesce of the New Jersey Devils. So
yeah, Quinn is out. Quinn is out. They actually mentioned it today because he didn't pass his medical. He's not able, and they were required a certain medical. Now, that, like you said, that was through the Canucks. They need to make sure. I think it wasn't wise to send him anyway, just because they got to worry about a playoff run here. So
100%.
They do need to be prepared. But right now, they might just go. They might go 11-7 if they could have had that extra. But now it looks like you're going to be dealing with the 12-6 now.
100%. And I will add, so I'll get your quick thoughts before we move on to the thing I wanted to ask.
Thoughts I want to talk about around this too. So
is that Vancouver also did some tidy work of re-signing up Drew O'Connor, who they just recently got acquired from Pittsburgh in that big trade. So he signed a 2-year, $5 million contract. He's got 2 goals in 4 games for them, a depth piece, but he also had 6 goals and 10 assists in 53 games with Pittsburgh. They're looking to potentially bolster that bottom 6. Your thoughts quickly on the signing for Drew O'Connor, what he brings?
Yeah, I kind of feel like this is just your depth signing. I don't think there's anything special. I think it was probably a little overpay, if anything, to be honest with you.
2 years.
It's not going to make you a cup-winning team. I guess that's what I'm saying. When you're spending that kind of money with that. So I just want to go back and just say, I don't know if people have recognized or appreciate in the Four Nations here what's happening when watching McKinnon, Crosby, and McDavid. And I think right now, many Canadians are now understanding how fortunate the Edmonton Oilers fans are to see Connor McDavid on a daily basis. Yeah. Like, he is electrifying people right now. And that was like playing without, like, no offense, but Marner was a terrible choice from the very beginning. He's not a puck retriever. He likes to handle the puck. He likes to be the guy that brings it in.
Yeah.
And so I think what we got to recognize is going on with McDavid is when they move Point was what he needed. I don't think Stone is the match. I actually hope they transition him. I get why they have him.
Bennett with his history and playing with McDavid.
Oh yeah, I just think Bennett, because he'll be a Hyman. He'll go to the net. He'll dig in the corners. Now Point does that too, but it's Point's speed that actually helps in this team. So right now, I mean, even if they leave Stone, I'm fine with it. But guys, enjoy the Team Canada. You got some wonderful best on best going to be happening. Watching Connor McDavid for all those that don't get to see him as often. So that was the last part I just wanted to mention.
No, fair enough. But
you did bring up Vancouver. Yes. So it's important that we mention Thatcher Demko is injured again. So now everyone, this is a lower body injury. It has nothing to do with his previous injury. But this is becoming quite worrisome. And this has a lot of there's a lot of ruffling of feathers right now at maybe making some changes in goal. Maybe not this year, but this could potentially.
Well, they have no one for next year besides Demko signed. So, I mean, they can bring up Shelovs, but that's about it.
I think they feel pretty good about Lankinen, though. That could be a
but he's not signed. He's a UFA this year.
Oh, I understand that, but they obviously not signed.
Yeah, he's kept their season afloat, 100%. I just think his price tag went up, right? And that's the problem. Because he was signed pretty cheap for this year. Now, a few more things just to kind of around the Four Nations things, since we are chairing, GMing and armchair coaching. I will say, and again, all the power to John Cooper. He's a Stanley Cup champion coach. He knows what he's doing. I really thought they would have given Aiden Hill a chance to play versus Finland. Just because it is such a short tournament and you want to give an opportunity. And I believe they let Ottinger play for Team USA versus Finland as well. So, they changed it up a bit, or Sweden, sorry. So they changed it up a bit, and I thought, Hill should have had a chance to at least compete, play on the ice, but I get it. You're going with Bennington. That's your guy. You know what's going on. It'll be interesting to see what happens next because these teams are going to compete tomorrow. It's been fun seeing the dynamics beyond. And I think what's happening in the world, Evan, to be honest, has really magnified the battle between Team USA and Team Canada, everything. We don't get into it here. We're just saying that it's been happening. And so we talked about it last week, but I think the animosity has grown. And I think this is why we need a best on best. And we've been deprived almost 9 years of this. And the fact that we haven't had the opportunity to see Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid play together on an international stage is really disheartening. So I think the NHL hit this out of the park. Granted, the timing's a little bit questionable. The injuries have been, questionable. Both Team Sweden and Finland, they're done. They've kind of gone back to their respective teams. But we mentioned Sam Bennett, and there was a report today. And again, we like speculations, but we're very cautious of it. It sounds like Frank Saravelli was reporting that there is some interest with Florida and with the Ottawa Senators potentially moving something around with Sam Bennett and Brady Tkachuk amongst other pieces. Now, that would be a big trade, but imagine if both Tkachuk brothers played together. That would be insane. Florida would be almost borderline unstoppable. That's how good they are. Brady has come in. He's been physical. He's been great. He's been putting up points. He knows how to lead. And it just goes to show you, Ottawa Senators fans, you got to appreciate what you want, because what was it, Evan? Was it a few months back? They wanted to trade this guy. They said, hey, he's not any good. He's no leader. He's struggling. This guy's the real deal. And you guys should appreciate, like Edmonton does Connor McDavid. Not to that same level, but Brady Tkachuk means a lot to the Ottawa Senators. So make this man happy and get him to the playoffs, because he is going to fight his way to being competitive in the postseason. Your thoughts on Brady Tkachuk?
Yeah, well, if I had to pick, I saw a poll that was put out by Paul Almeida, who runs his own agency for getting people out for sports, for travel agency. He was with us our first, I think our second episode last year in our 5th season. So he does polls quite often. So if you get a chance to follow him, definitely do that. He's one of our former guests. And his poll was, do you want Matthew? Do you want Brady? Do you want Rantanen? Or there was one other person, I can't remember. And, so I had fun with the poll. I put Brady because of what he brings. The toughness. So he is truly, Matthew Tkachuk is a power forward, but he's not as big as Brady. And Brady, in my opinion, is a lot tougher. And he does get under people's skin, but not quite as much as Matthew. The problem I deal with Matthew is to say with Brad Marchand, they can get under people's skin, but it can also backfire. And that's also what I'm a little bit worried about with that. So what's Jordan got to say?
He's saying Florida can trade a 2028 first rounder because they have no picks until then. Yeah, I mean, they've traded away a lot of their guys. And I think that's why Bennett's on the dock, because he has to be a piece probably going back. Because really, what else are you sending back? Right. But again, I don't think it's happening. It was interesting. Now, a few other things I wanted to kind of get to. It was reported to also today by Kevin Weeks that it sounds like the GMs and the Board of Governors are potentially agreeing in expanding to the New Orleans area for another NHL team. Your quick thoughts on this, Evan?
Yeah. So, you got that. Just so you guys know, we didn't have a chance to script out tonight's show. So I didn't know that actually Pavel actually caught that quickly. So that Kevin Weeks is pretty reliable, but let's face it, I think what the NHL is doing is they're letting everybody know of people who are interested. They really have no interest in going to a place that hockey is not going to sell in New Orleans. It's very different. People say, yeah, but California, and that's different. You're talking about a small city. The fact that they have the Saints and the Pelicans, and they work hard at the Pelicans. And believe me, I lived in NOLA. In NOLA, if you've ever been there in Nolans, and as you call it, if you're from there, you know that basketball is like in the hearts of all your blue collar workers and stuff like that. I love arena football. Will work better than NHL. It would be awesome. I would love it. I would support them. But remember, I don't pay tickets for the games. I don't buy season seats. You might be able to maybe get the corporate, but I don't think that you're going to be able to get the number of fans. And right now, the minor league team in Baton Rouge, that's in the I think it's the FFHL. Sorry, I'll have to look that up for you guys. They're losing about, in the last 5 years, about 800 fans a year. So, but it is interesting. And you got to admit, the fact that people are looking. But here's the thing, Houston, now I don't know if people know this, the ownership is being moved around here. So this is not there's a second owner that's now come in that wants an NHL team. The first owner has backed away with some of the dealings, not liking what he's hearing on some stuff. Remember, they got shaded. They wanted to buy the Coyotes originally. There was no sale going on, and they didn't even get a chance to relocate there. It went straight to Ryan Smith. There was some behind the scenes stuff going on with Utah. That's the politics of it, right? So if you want to piss off every person in Quebec, the New Orleans Nordique.
That would be wild. That would
be so anyway, right now I'm a little worried what's happening in Houston. And I guess the reason is I'm just thinking we're going to hear Atlanta more and more. Now, of course, Atlanta is in a totally different place. That's going to be in the East for a team, so it still gives you a Western team. But it should be Houston. But in the East, I don't know. I just can't see a third time going back into a city. Why would you do that? I get the population, but you don't have enough hockey roots there. So
that's fair. I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll be here to report on it, but there's definitely there's an appetite for expansion, but I mean, you don't want to move too quickly. You have to know who your market is, who your interest is, what buyers are there, and who's willing to like. Do you have an arena in place? What does that look
Yeah.
like? Like, I think
Yeah.
they learned from the Arizona situation that they want to make this work because with the cap going up, with the popularity and rise in hockey this year, and it's interesting because I don't know if you saw this, Evan. There was a bit of an exchange on X, as you like to say, or as
I
formerly known
like
as
to say,
Twitter, is that Kevin Durant, an NBA superstar, he talked about how fans should go watch the NHL if they want that physicality, right? Kind of like deterring people to watch another sport, even though he's one of the best at his sport. That's like as if someone came up to Hedman and he said, you know what? We don't do enough. Go watch the NFL. That's where you get the physicality, the real battles. So you're gaining a market, you're growing. You want to make sure you do this at a good, smart pace, and you want to make sure, of course, the pocketbooks are filled, but that everyone is getting their fair share of the pie, and that the game naturally grows as it should. But we'll see how it goes. We'll definitely be reporting it, but as you indicated, Kevin Weeks, a pretty reliable source. Now, speaking of a few other things that have happened, I just wanted to kind of touch on is Sam Steele has re-signed with the Dallas Stars to also a 2-year, $4.2 million extension. He's 27 years old. He's got 4 goals and 13 assists in 53 games, and he actually leads all Stars forward in shorthanded ice time. So, he plays in all specialty situations. The guy is a good depth piece. Your quick thoughts on Sam Steele?
I think Sam Steele is a great player. To me, he's your third line. He reminds me as a smaller guy and his work ethic and stuff. He's actually a hometown boy here. He reminds me a lot of Andrew Cogliano days. Sam Steele's work ethic and stuff. So I wish nothing but the best for the guy. I hope it works for him.
And Brett is tuning in. Welcome, Brett. And he says Vernon V's with a potential WHL team and leaving the BCHL. Crazy times. Did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I was actually just going to comment that. Why don't keep it up there and let's move to Around the Rink.
All right, let's get to Around the Rink.
If you're a fan of hard-hitting, exciting hockey, catch the Kalkaska Battlers.
Around the Rink
is brought to you by the Kalkaska Battlers. Let them be your local hockey heroes.
All right, so just checking there, Brent. I see that you put Vernon. It is the Penticton V's. But I see that you had the Vernon, I believe in the BCHL is the Vipers, the team that they work with. But anyway, you can let me know what you were referring, unless you were saying something else. So I do want to talk about this right now. So the owner, and everybody knows the Penticton V's are kind of like they monopolize the BCHL, and they've done it for many years. They get all the best players. They get them in. Penticton has a great arena. That's where the Canucks have their pre-rookie tournaments and everything like that. Beautiful place. Lots of hockey fans around there. All right. Yeah. Okay, Brent. Just making sure. I was like, did I forget something? We're talking Okanagan, kind of.
This is when we say Evan knows something about hockey. So there you go.
So the Penticton V's, the owner, some people thought it was a new owner. Right now, the city owns the arena. They have been monopolizing. They've been winning so much in that league. And now they have paid, and I don't know the exact dollars, but around $1 million for rights to Kelowna, which they are like over 2 hours away. This is ridiculous. But they paid the rights, and now they paid the expansion fee, and they will officially be leaving the BCHL, basically removing the entire team, letting go of all their contracts and the BCHL contracts, and re-signing as a brand new team, and they can grab and contract whoever. I'm not sure all the details, but the same owner has now moved, and they will be a WHL team starting next year. And having said that, the Chilliwack team might be following 1 year after. So that's going to cause a lot of strife right now, because essentially people are saying this is going to kill. Already the Okotoks Oilers have said that they cannot afford to play in the BCHL next year. They took a big step. And then when all this stuff happened with NCAA, and then Hockey Canada allowed players, over 50 players left the BCHL. They were allowed to leave their contracts because Hockey Canada sanctioned them still after September 30th. even though Hockey Canada said every other year you can't do that. They were mad. They're going to pay back the BCHL. There's a whole story behind that. You can check out past episodes. But now this is going to put a lot of peril because we don't know what's going to happen with a lot of the Alberta teams and what's going on. I've reached out to a couple of contacts I'm waiting back on. We might have one coming in. But again, we're going to have to see how this flows. Man, junior hockey, the NCAA has really messed with everything that's been going on. So go ahead.
Oh, no, Brent just said a lot of former NHL players' kids went through their development program. So it is a very successful program. It's just, it's interesting to see what potentially could happen, right? Because you want these kids to succeed, as we talk about, but it's hard. And Jordan says they need more teams to spread out all the talent, Evan. So
yeah, I'm a little worried about the WHL expanding by this much, though. The continual expansion, they like to bring in the money, but I am really worried that this is going to water it down. Right now, you essentially have an upper echelon of teams that pay and people go to. You have your main destination, your larger centers. There's reasons that they go just like the NHL, but there's a lot of teams that are kind of in the Winnipeg situation. It's really hard to grow. And when you do, you only get so many years and then you're on the bottom again for another period of time. So, yeah, and I get Jordan is really trying to just bug me about the WHL. But if he actually checks his numbers, if Jordan checks his numbers until COVID, they sucked. WHL was not producing. But it's
going to be a wild draft.
Jordan likes to pick and choose his numbers based on what have you done for me recently. So anyway,
I feel like I've already seen the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, and I feel like Evan, like you're past your prime, and then Jordan already beat you at this. So
you bring him on, man. I'll bring the knockout punch. I won't stage the show.
This was a Netflix series I didn't need to watch, right? But anyways, so it's interesting. We'll be reporting on that story because there'll be more to come probably. I did want to get your thoughts because this also kind of came up on my feed today, and it was an interesting dynamic and proposal. So a lot of thoughts on it. It sounds like the Saskatoon, city of Saskatoon could be a prime area for the Bakersfield Condors, so the AHL team for the Edmonton Oilers to be moved to. I know that there's been some reporting in the Saskatoon Star Phoenix for this move to happen. And I wanted to, Evan, to know your thoughts about it because right now, it's a city about 400,000 people, and the SaskTel Center fits about 15,000 people, right? So it's twice as many fans as Kelowna.
I actually thought it was around 9 or 10,000. It's more like the Centrium, I believe.
Yeah, maybe I'd have to double check. I thought the Sask was a bit bigger, but we can double check quickly.
Yeah.
But the way it is that apparently seating up to 13,000. I'm wondering if that includes standing desk too. Okay. So
yeah.
Either way, what are your thoughts on potentially Bakersfield moving? Because we know that we just saw a few years back the Abbotsford Canucks move back and be closer to the Vancouver region, especially if you need to bring a player up or down. And there's more to it that goes into it because when you get into players with visas, work visas, getting across the border playing, it's a bit tough. But to have someone in Saskatoon, only 5 hours away by car to Edmonton, that's a good deal rather than Bakersfield, right?
Yeah, or a quick little charter flight too. That's like 20, 30 minutes, right? Yeah. So when we recall the Oilers organization previously, when they were talking about the AHL team again, because we're talking outside of NHL here, they were saying they like Bakersfield because there's a lot of close competition. They don't have to do as much travel, except when they bring the players. And usually when you're dealing with players coming back and forth, it's not that many that are moving around unless you have a young organization that's just starting to come out of the bottom end of the tank. So they talk less, but this is what I wonder has happened. If this is legit, if something is real here, but their deal with Bakersfield, they could buy out, I think was what was being talked about, Jordan, that they would just buy themselves out of the deal, and then there's some penalty on it. It would be enormous. They're not going to save money in the short term. No. I think that they are. The only way this happens is because they're worried about the dollar.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing that I could think. But they
and you
love
also
the
need the board
Condors.
of
They love the
governors.
Condors.
You also need the board of governors to approve the move, right? So it's not just like a simple, quick, easy. And according to online sources, the SaskTel Center is 15,195. So it is
Really?
15,000. Yeah. So it's, you know, and again, I don't know how reliable Wikipedia is. You can confirm, but I'm pretty sure that that's what they're saying. So that's still a pretty sizable arena, right? And you know that there's Saskatoon fans who love hockey, and they would have loved to get a team. If you guys recall, and we're not doing hockey history about this tonight, is that the St. Louis Blues almost were Saskatoon Blues, just so you know, right? But I know
Harry Ernest.
Yeah.
Harry Ernest.
So you're
right, 14,750. I actually thought it was a little bit smaller. So okay.
So just to show you that there is an appetite. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's something to be to see. And I agree with Jordan. Would love to see pro hockey in Saskatchewan because it is an incredible market. You just look at the Rough Rider fans and the fandom, the intensity, the passion that those people have for that team. I could see them bringing the same to the NHL or AHL team that's affiliated with the Oilers. So we'll see what happens. But it'll be interesting to see if this happens because, again, there are benefits, but there are also drawbacks. So
exactly. Well, before we go to the next section, why don't we go to our Revs Top 15 so we can update someone really because we're already talking around the league. And then let's come back and hit on some more NHL stuff.
Revs Top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
Hey guys, so it's been an interesting time. Can I just say this right now? What I have found really, I mentioned this 2 weeks ago on our show, how because of the World Juniors, all of a sudden Matthew Schaefer jumped to number 1. I found this interesting because he hasn't played a game since. He's got only he was only in the top 5. He was 4 and 5 by most people. He wasn't even in the top 3. And some people didn't have him top. And then they massively jumped him around that time. Be careful. Be warned. I am shocked at how many of the pros that are in the rankings have moved on this. And I've talked to some minor leagues, not minor, but minor scouts, junior scouts around this. And they're they are shocked at the ranking systems and how they're going by what have you done for me recently? And they're not looking at the bigger picture. And so interesting enough with this, I want you guys to think about this. If you're saying, well, it doesn't matter that Matthew Schaefer hasn't, right? If they are believing it doesn't matter how many games he's played, we've seen enough. Well, remember, you've only seen he has 17 games under his belt. That's not enough to see a full season. Landon Dupont at 15 years old came out flying. He's now fell back a bit because, again, can you put it? I know he's a big boy. I know that Matthew, he sits at 6'2", 183. But still, just one tournament, be careful. I'm really worried about that. Now, what's interesting is in the same breath, Roger McQueen has not actually moved forward because he hasn't got back on the ice, but yet he's dropping. How can those same people drop him, like them so much, but yet they move another guy up when he's been injured? You need to keep them where they are during the injury period and come out. So Matthew might be better. I might, if he can come out and do what he's doing. But right now, I want you to think about this for Matthew. If he comes back, he will only have 32 games and 41 points in his season. You're telling me he's going number 1? Guys, he's not going number 1. I don't care what the rankings say. I don't care. People are going to take a big chance for number 1 at that stage. I don't think they're doing it. Second of all, James Higgins, the guy is still not producing goals. He's got his 29 games, 8 goals. Right now, he's about to move a little further. If Matthew was playing, I would be moving him up into that spot. But as you guys know, I moved James down. A lot of rankings have moved him down. He's got 31 points in 29 games. Great player. I think he's like a Jack Hughes kind of a player. He's going to be a star. However, my thing is Michael Misak continues to wow at 6'1", 185 in the Ontario Hockey League, 108 points already. He wasn't selected to Team Canada. He's got 52 goals in 51 games. That's on Team. Well, the whole team was on Team Canada, right? 52 goals in 51 games. He is not stopping. Interesting enough, though, Porter Martin is still solidly in place. He's still performing well. And by the way, our guest tonight was play-by-play. He's the road voice for the actual Steelheads, the Brampton team. He couldn't make it tonight. There was an emergency that came up. We are going to rebook him for another show because we also want to talk about Michael Misa's older brother, Luke, who is a draft pick of Calgary Flames. So, but what I have done is I have moved Caleb Desnoyers out of the Quebec League into number 5 and dropped Roger McQueen just because Caleb has performing so well. But I want to move to number 10. So I want to move to number 10 and quickly tell you who I'm looking at. At number 10, I'm looking at, now Jordan's going to love this, Jackson Smith, another defenseman, a left-handed D, 6'3", 190 pounds. Guys, he skates well. He's kind of a funky looking at times, the way he skates, but he's powerful. He's fluid. He gets by checkers. He skates well up the ice. Good offensive skills. Ryan Kennedy of the Hockey News says you got to watch him. There's not much to complain about. Very solid frame. Sam Constantino says that he's rounding into form and continuing to develop. At first, I wasn't sure of this, but because of his physicality, his skating, his mobility, his size, and I think his hockey sense is great. Guys, I actually got him ranked at number 10. So having that in place, I want you to think about this. If today, based on a draft, if they went where I've placed them, which I see as their career trajectories, Sharks would take Matthew Misa, Blackhawks would take James Higgins, Nashville would have Matthew Schaefer, Buffalo would take Porter Martin, and Seattle would have Caleb Desnoyers, and maybe the Anaheim or the Flyers would take Roger McQueen. And last, I just got to mention it, Gavin McKenna is still performing, man. Guy's a draft year away. 3 years out, everyone knew he's going number 1. He's already got 99 points in only 48 games. The kid is amazing. Right now, he's on pace for 122 points, and he still has another year of junior and or college to play. So anyway, guys, that's it for me, and that is my Revs Top 15.
Revs Top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
That's some great insight. And Jordan says Luka Misa is going to be a steal for Calgary, as well as Roger McQueen is back playing and has 8 goals in 8 games. Crazy for him to drop, but still playoff, Memorial Cup combined. He's got a.
Was he back last night? Because I didn't see him back. So that's interesting, Jordan.
Yeah, I don't know myself. The one thing I will say, Evan, and I know you kind of indicated, well, he would never go number 1. It's so dependent on who goes when. We all talked about Shane Wright going first, and he dropped to 4th, and everything there, and Juraj Slafkovsky and what happened there.
But
and
that was an anomaly. That was an anomaly year, though, right?
Yes, but you say never, but like things can change. What's the old saying? You plan and God laughs. I think it comes down to what the team needs. If it's a San Jose Sharks and they have a generational talent, I get you want the best player, quote unquote, but sometimes you're looking at something unconventional. You want a winger. You want a
Are you really going to take a chance with that usually the number 2 and on, and number 2, and very seldom chances are taken at number 1. Montreal is one of those few. You need to have the right GM, like you said. But the reason is that year they were looking at someone who's got experience, who wasn't affected by COVID. A lot of people were worried about the lack of development from Shane. He had the same thing that people were saying about Nishkov, about his attitude, the way he handled himself. And it has proven that he had some things in his game that he had to work through mentally, right? But, the pick that they took is still now looking to hurt them. Most teams are going to take that. I'm not saying it won't happen, but if you only got 31 games to judge a player on, you're really taking a big chance. And it is never say never. You're right. But I'd be really cautious. Can I just mention, hey, Jordan, you're talking about Luke Misa. Can we just take a moment and talk about Zane Perrick, the defenseman for Calgary? Calgary Fame fans, you got something to be excited about here. I know people talk about he's horrendous on defense. You know what? People said that about Evan Bouchard. But I don't think you're going to say no to Evan Bouchard. And if you are, it's because he's not on your team. It's because he's not on your team.
Team Canada did for the Four Nations. So
well, yeah, but Canada also took Hagel and Joe Cirelli. When you got a Mark Scheifele
doesn't
sitting
matter.
in Winnipeg.
You still said no to Evan Bouchard. So
yeah, but my point is they don't pick right. You just said it during the juniors. So listen to this right now. Zane Perrick has. Let me finish this. Let me finish the Zane Perrick for the Plain fans. 280 shots on goal. You may not even know that. He shoots and he shoots. He's got a plus 49. I know he's on a strong team. Plus 49, 68 games. He has 111 points he's on pace for with about 37 goals. I mean, this guy is pacing well. So I think he'll get 9 games next year, and I think he'll leave one more year. Allow the team time to develop. And if they do, I think that you're looking at an incredible team moving forward. Luke Misa might have one more year. They might send him back. I'm not sure what they're going to do on that one. Yeah, Luke Misa and Zane Perrick, plus whatever you're going to get this year. If I was the Flames, man, I would not want to compete for a playoff spot. I want to get a top 15 if I can get in there.
I mean, yeah, well, you want that experience in the playoffs. So even if you get in and you play a round or two, that's always good for your team and it boosts that confidence.
So do you really think getting a round or two, it improves the team enough for getting a player that's 5? So picking 17 or 18 as opposed to picking, but as opposed to
players on the ice,
you pick 12 and you pick 18.
You're making a decision as a GM,
absolutely.
to want the best player, 100%. The players don't care about the draft; they care about winning. Evan, they want to get in.
But you understand that this game, though. You as a manager can set your team up in such a way they're not going to have a chance. If you make the moves.
And they're going to be set up pretty good. Hey, Ray, good to see you. Always a joy to see you. But Jordan says Calgary Flames had the best draft last season and wasn't even close. I agree. Maybe high as 5 guys from one draft can make them play meaningful games. And even if you knock out 3 of those guys or 2 of those guys, you're in the ballpark. You're already rocking.
They're doing
right?
wonderful.
And so I agree with the sense that you want to stock up your shelves. That's what Pittsburgh's trying to do. Dubas is trying to do that for Pittsburgh because they have nothing. Their cupboards are empty. However, Calgary is in that middle of the pack. But Evan, like I do, you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. You get that experience. You sell extra tickets, and it's proven that when a team gets into the playoffs, their business overall goes up next year. So if you're the GM, if you're Craig Conroy and you're talking to management, you're saying, hey, do I want this random prospect next year in the draft, or do I want to win some playoffs games to get some extra cash? They're going to go for the extra cash. The players are going to play because they're playing hard for the playoffs. And then you're bringing in additional money next season. So I don't agree with this whole notion that you're setting up for the future. You do what you can. You make sure you draft well.
Name me a team. Name me a team, a top 4 team that's never finished on the bottom for a few years and always stays in the top 4.
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Top 4?
Finishes in the top 4?
No, I'm not talking regular season. I'm talking playoffs, top 4 teams.
Yeah,
Toronto is never they never make.
No, I thought you meant top 4 in the regular season.
No. Top 4 team. I call top 4 the teams that actually make it at the end of the when you're moving into summer. Top 4 team.
Florida Panthers.
So they were on the bottom, buddy. They started with Aaron Ekblad and they got Sam Bennett, who came out of they trade for. He was from those early draft years, and they only had that. They got Frundell. They had Aaron Ekblad. They had Barkov.
That's good drafting. That's good drafting.
Good drafting. They had low drafting to be able to get that draft. I'm talking. You got to pick bottom 10. Bottom 10 is where you're going to get your players for your future. And you're saying good drafting.
I feel like
this is what we're arguing about. You're saying you make the playoffs. You make the playoffs. You're getting a 15. You're getting a 16. No, it's 32 teams. You're getting a 17 to 20th pick. You're not getting a top 10.
Not if you traded during the regular season with one of your picks.
Okay. Hang on. You're saying they're going to make the playoffs, and they want to do that, and the same management wants to do that, make a playoff. Yes. And you're saying they're going to get a bottom 10 pick? They're going to get a bottom 10 pick? How? Because they traded for it? They're not trading for a bottom 10 pick. They're a middle of the road club. You don't move ahead being a middle of the road club, barely making the playoffs every year. Florida blew it. They blew the doors off, and then they built from the ground up. So Florida's not a good example. The only one that I can actually look at and say top 4 legitimately, that is because you got to pick players in the late round of first round and later in second and fourth and fifth rounds is Boston. Boston's one of those teams that never seems to have to pick low. They only had a few years of that, and they've always built. So maybe you guys have someone out there, another team, but buddy, you got to pick top 10, top 15 minimum. Otherwise, you're not going to be. You need a good 3-4 years of that before you can move up.
100%. I agree. What I'm saying is that players want to compete and win. They don't care about a prospect.
But this isn't up to them. This is up to the management. I don't think
management is looking at it and saying, hey, if we're the Calgary Flames, and I'm looking at the Flames as you gave an example, they're saying, hey, they can make the playoffs this year. We're competitive.
So
the wild card spot is available. We can get in.
First round, man. They're dead first round. Is it really
never know.
Going out?
People thought Seattle was done a few years back when they faced off with Colorado. And what happened there?
Oh, and look what happened the next year and the year after. Look,
doesn't matter. They're in there.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? They made the playoffs. They made a little fun. They had like $4 million. They made extra in cash flow, and now they're still on the bottom of the pile. Come on.
When you don't want the extra $4 million, you send it my way.
They never made. They're not a top 4 team, and they winning that year was an anomaly. They had a great goaltending happening. No way, man. Slam dunk.
Jordan says Dallas slam dunked on players, not Heiskanen, but in Johnston, Robertson, and Stankoven.
That's excellent, Jordan. That's excellent. Dallas is a good catch. Yeah.
In 2019.
But you are right, Jordan. Dallas is another team, but they're an anomaly, is what I'm saying. That doesn't.
Detroit did it for 15 years. Jordan says without drafting, just have good scouting.
They did, but they did it before the salary cap. They did not win like the same after the salary cap. So in a salary cap world, that's my
changing the goalposts here for us.
No, I'm not changing the goalposts. We're talking in today's league.
You guys,
but I appreciate Jordan he is talking about teams. So Detroit, Boston, and Dallas. Dallas got lucky that year, man. But I will say their scouting is some of the best.
Smart. You have good scouting.
It is luck.
Program. Dude, no, it's not.
Dude, hey, can I just say something? You're telling me sitting here saying it's not luck, and I can name 3 general managers who are on record saying it's luck, baby. I can give you 4 pro scouts.
Are they still current general managers?
One of them is, yes. And they'll tell you they are ones that have won an actual cup. Well, I'm not going to tell you right now, because if I tell you right now, you're going to ask me for facts. And I need to get those facts put together. So I will bring them out to you to tell you. And I have 4 pro scouts I talked to. And I'm telling you, they've all said the thing, and they're all on record. You got to be lucky in the later rounds. Talk to the top superstars. Lucky? You don't have to be lucky. Oh, come on. You got to be lucky. Talk to anybody. Talk to your announcers. You got to be lucky in your drafting. You don't just pull off a Dallas one year or pull off some of the stuff that happened. You also have to trust your scouts, and that doesn't happen a lot of times.
100%. We can agree on that. Awesome. You guys can let us know what you thought of our little debate. We have no rat tonight, so this is our. Jordan said it's a mix of luck and great scouting, so you are both right. See, there we go.
Jordan, the mediator. Jordan, the WHL Canadian mediator. Can we actually hit?
He should be our counselor.
So let's do this. I want to talk about something on seat sales. Let's hit by the numbers. I want to talk about a couple numbers here.
We got it.
Puckpedia, the ultimate source for your NHL salary cap information, player contracts, team cap hits, transaction news, and injury news.
By the numbers.
Hey guys, I wanted to quickly hit on something. If you're a Canucks fan, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So I had someone send me some information, and I thought this was quite interesting. So Canuck fans in 2016, 2017, they're talking about the section, and they're pretty open. They said they're in section 304. So remember, they're way up top in rows 2 to 5. So they got 3 tickets, okay? I'm telling you, they were paying in 2016, 2017. So what's that, about 9 years ago approximately? Mm-hmm. They were paying $4,867.20 a ticket. So let's just call it $48.50 per ticket. The next year, it went up by about $100. Then it went up by $300. You had the pandemic. And coming out of the pandemic, they went up another $400. The next year after that, they went up $600. They went up $300. Then from there, they went up 750. Okay. And then they just went up $650. So this year, within 9 years, they've gone from $4,800 to $6,900. So I don't know. You break down the numbers on that per ticket. $6,900 for a ticket in section 304. That's insane, these numbers. And I wonder, I know the billions of dollars that teams are paying for these franchises. Where is this going to leave us in the future? I am really concerned where this is going to lead us in the future. Because these numbers, how are they going to continue to be able to afford, like, people going to seats? I know season ticket holders in the West right now, in other places. I know it's Canadian City. Americans, I think, have higher sponsorship. They make more money on their sponsorship. And Canadian, they have to figure the dollar exchange, I think, is what happens a lot of times. But, I mean, interesting enough, the amount of money that is going out on season tickets. And I'm wondering, like in Penticton, what's going to happen even on there with their tickets? What are they going to charge compared to a BCHL game for $25 to a WHL? Are they only going to go up $5-10? They just spent $2 million. How do you recoup that money? Maybe sponsorship? Maybe because you're an owner, you can do a lot of write-offs. I don't know, guys. Anyway, that's by the numbers.
Puckpedia, the ultimate source for your NHL salary cap information, player contracts, team cap hits, transaction news, and injury news.
By the numbers.
Awesome. Well, it's been a ring-a-ding dandy show. I got one last thing to get to before we finalize and end. I don't know if you heard, Evan, it was reported today that former Hall of Famer Bobby Hull apparently has had some notified that he has CTE, so the degenerative brain disease found in athletes and those who have suffered extreme concussions or repeated head trauma. You can only do this diagnosis after the death. He passed away a few years back. I think one of the things that this is going to raise is the physicality of the game. Not to say that fighting is going to get out of the game, because we've had that episode, we've talked about that ad nauseum, but I think it's just in terms of the NHL acknowledging and recognizing and maybe creating some kind of, whether it's a fund or a program to address it or acknowledge it. The problem is the moment they do that, there's open liability right there. And I think that's one of the fears the NHL has. But it just goes to show you that, it is a tough sport. It is a dangerous sport. And, they used to play, without helmets, of course, in that era. But still, you have to be mindful, because even to this day, you want to keep head hits out of the game. You still see them from time to time. Of course, there's more suspensions. But I think the Department of Player Safety needs to be a bit more mindful and consciousness about them, because you don't want future players, whether they're bottom players or stars, getting injured and being able to have a career afterwards, right? That's kind of the big thing. And of course, as always with any sport, the equipment is going to continue to evolve and changing it better. And just like the neck guards that have been started being worn by a lot of players and are mandatory. Oh, there's my cat. He wanted to be in this shot. There's my kitty.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. He had to just come in. And just like that, equipment will be improved. Like the neck guards that were after that freaky accident last year. I think helmets are going to continue to get better. I know that I believe the rule came in last year where new players from a certain draft, I think from draft 20, I forget the year, you can correct me, have to wear helmets even during warm-ups. So that's another thing. I think it was after COVID. That's when the players who were drafted after COVID. So like 2022, 2023. So there's definitely something happening there. Any quick thoughts on Bobby Hull, what he meant to the game, and just the diagnosis and news?
Yeah, it's always a sad day when you get news like that. He's, well, I mean, we've done a hockey history on him in the past, and I know there's a lot of off-ice stuff, but guys, you got to know he was a part of the transformation of the game of hockey. When he came in, he was called the Golden Jet for a reason. That slap shot, which his son took from him, the ability to hit a puck like he could. He's the reason the WHA turned into what it did, which brought us the Quebec Nordiques, which brought us the Winnipeg Jets. the Hartford Whalers and the Edmonton Oilers. And of course, one of those teams made it, and there's still the Jets who resurfaced again because of it. But it was because of Bobby Hull. So our hearts go out to the family and those loved ones around him with that news. And it is sad, but you guys, let's remember what he's done for the game and appreciate that part of it. So, but yeah.
And I just want to kind of note a few small little things before we finish is the trade deadline's coming up here in less than 2 weeks away. March 7th, I believe it is. So there's going to be some rumblings, movements. We talked a little bit earlier about some of the speculation that has been made out there. Sounds like Seth Jones is talking with his agents about possibly being traded. There's going to be moves, guys. We're going to be reporting to you. Remember that we are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We love hearing from you. Make sure you let us know what you're thinking. Reach out to us on Twitter/X, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. We are always communicating. We love hearing from you. Go check out our website. We try to post ongoing articles throughout the week. We always love it. Evan, I know that there's not much left beyond the show beyond saying thank you to our big sponsors tonight. We love it. We have all the great shows. We love doing them for you guys. And yeah, any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
No, man, it's been another great week. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for helping us reach the 1,000+ followers on our Facebook. It allows us to be able to get more exposure out there. It also helps us kind of be able to bring the guests that we bring in. And it's just so you guys know, the guests come because of you. They don't just come because of us. Yes, we network, but they're always interested in where you guys are from. And so I just want to thank you for wherever you're calling from. You're in some of the northern states, up in the Northeast. You're in the southern west or southeastern states. You're some of you are coming in from Quebec, some from the Prince Edward. Maybe some of you guys are from Nova Scotia today, Cole Harbour, McKinnon, and Crosby fans. Guys, you're from, a lot of you come from Alberta, our home area. Thank you. And having said that, I just want to say next week we will have from the Cult of Hockey contributor and writer, Bruce McCurdy. So we are going to have a little bit of a focus for around 20-25 minutes on the Edmonton Oilers, where things are coming into play right now. And they're going to talk, though, about some metrics, because they do a metrics with the Oilers for their Cult of Hockey. And we're going to hear how they put that in place, how it came about. And so it should be a fun time. If you have questions around the metrics, if you have questions around the Oilers, make sure you send them to us and or join us live for Bruce McCurdy joins us for that show. So it should be a great time. But in the meantime, buddy, and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Enjoy the Canada-US game. Enjoy the rest of the hockey season. Have a good night. Stay safe, everyone. We appreciate you.